Okay, so in last session, we talked about redirection, pipeline, and variables.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we will be starting the user and group management.
Okay.
User and so first question arises, what is the need of user? Why we create user?
Create user
And
for access purpose.
for
Access.
right
For
and
different
for
people to have access to the server or the system.
right. And what about group?
Group to like have maybe a particular people, a particular for a particular function, a particular purpose. You know, if you want to like have some set of people to have rights to some
Correct.
functions or something, yeah, right.
Okay. So if we want to assign access on our system, on our server for a particular user, then we will create a user account for that user, for that client, and then provide him that access. And if we want to assign a particular rights on a single directory per se for multiple users, then we can add those users in a group and then assign permission to that particular group. So all the members of that group will have access to that directory. Okay. So users are of three types, mainly three types. First one is the super user, which we say administrative user or admin user. In our case, in Linux, by default, super user is root. Okay. Second is system users, which works in the background, which manages the services and all that. Okay. They don't have access to a shell on which they can run the commands. Third one is our local users, or we can say normal users. All those users besides root by whom we access the machine and work on the machine. Like if I create Solomon user, that will be a local user. If I create SRK user, that will be a local user. If we talk about system users, let's say I want to configure web server, Apache web server. So a user will be created related to that Apache. And that user will manage all the workings in the background related to Apache service, Apache web server. Similarly, if I want to configure DNS server, then a user named D will be created in the system. Differentiate with the name of those users.
So I don't get the system. I don't get the system user very well. System user.
Let me show you here. Like in Windows, if we go to details. Okay. So here multiple services are running right now.
Yes.
I only ran a couple of services. I ran this, what we say, Microsoft Teams. I ran this VMware. Yeah. But besides that, multiple services are being run in the background.
Ah, okay, yeah. Okay.
So these systems are managing those services. They will be providing resources, and if they need to shut that service down, they will do that. Okay. Those are called system users. So we can differentiate between them by names because it is easy to remember names instead of numbers. But for system, they provide a user ID for all the users, which we also say UID. ID for user root is 0.
Okay.
ID for system user is generally between 1 and 999. As for the local users part, it is above 1000. Okay. For system users, it can be more than 1000, but for local user, it will be only above 1000. It will not be less than the 1000.
So in
Okay.
case we want to stop, we want to stop a particular user, maybe we have too much process running. We want to stop a particular user. So these are the things you check so that you don't go and shut down an important
You want to
user.
stop a process,
Like want
or
to
you
stop,
want
maybe some maybe system is too, I don't know, maybe it's running high. The CPU is high, and you feel that a lot of users are running. Maybe the ones you didn't even start. Some users are running, so you need to stop them. So these are you check. You check the UID.
No.
Or
In
the
that case, you
processes.
will be checking the process ID.
Processes.
In that case, you will be checking the PID, not the UID.
UID.
Okay. So ID will be defined for each and every user, and a shell will be provided for all of those. As we talked before, shell were of two types. One was interactive and non-interactive. Interactive shell were those in which we were able to run commands, we were able to access the terminal. And other are non-interactive, in which we will not be able to access the commands. We will not be able to access the terminal where we can run the commands. For root user, the shell is /bin/bash. Bash shell is provided. For local users too, by default they get bash shell. As for system users, they get sbin no login shell. That means they will not be able to run any commands on the foreground. They will be working in the background only. Okay. Then, okay. So just like users, next we get is and groups can also be divided into two types. First one is primary group and another one is secondary, or sometimes we say supplementary group. Primary group are those groups which are created when we create a user, or vice versa. We can say whenever we create a user, a group will be created with that, and that group will be the primary group of that user. Created by default whenever we the user in the system. Okay.
Yeah.
Supplementary group are those groups. Let's say, let me give you an example here. Let's say I have a user Solomon. So when I add Solomon user, a group will be created with the same name, Solomon. Okay. On the left hand side, we have users. On the right hand side, we have groups. I added another user, SRK. A group will be created with the same name, and generally they also get same GID. Users have UID, groups have GID. After that, I created another group with the name India. And that group, I added SRK user as well as Solomon user. So now Solomon group is the primary group of Solomon user. SRK group is the primary group of SRK user. And India group is the secondary group of Solomon and SRK. Okay. So supplementary group, we can define it as the group which the user is a member of. User is a member of multiple groups, then all those groups will be the supplementary group of that user. If there was another group here, in that added Solomon user. So Solomon user now have two supplementary groups and one primary group. Okay. Thing that we need to remember is whenever we add a user in the system, multiple files entries are made. Multiple files, and those files are, first one is etc passwd, second one is etc groups, then etc shadow, and finally /home. etc passwd, it stores the user's information. Stores the group's information. etc shadow, it stores user's password. gshadow stores the group's password. And this one is the default directory which local users home directory exists. So mainly we need to focus on these three: etc passwd, etc groups, and etc shadow. Is create. So now let's go to the system and let me show you these three files. So first of all, okay, I want to check the last 5 lines of a file of etc shadow, etc passwd. Which command should I run?
You check the 5 pass.
Last 5 of etc passwd.
Okay, last 5. Use the tail -5.
Right.
Oh, sorry. -5.
Correct.
etc.
And then file name.
File name.
So these are the entries of etc passwd. Let me copy this. And then so here, first of all is the name. Second column is for the password, which will be taken from etc gshadow, etc shadow. Third one is the UID of user. Fourth one is the GID of primary group. After that, comment name, then home directory of user. Finally, shell which is provided to that user. UID and GID and the comment name, directory and shell. So these are the entries of etc passwd file. If I show you tail-5 etc groups. Okay, sorry, etc group. So this is the entry for that file. Let me copy this one. Or let me copy this. Groups. If we talk about this file's entry, then first of all, group name will be there, then group password, then GID of that group, and finally members of that group.
So group name, group password,
GID
and
numbers. So these are the entries of etc group file. And finally, the main file, which is etc shadow, which can only be viewed by either root user or those users who have root privileges. If local user tries to check the etc shadow file, he will not be able to do that. Okay. So if you check here, first of all is the name of user. Then second column is for the password. So in some places, this random value is written, and in some places you will see double exclamation sign. So if double exclamation sign is there, that means password is not set for that user. Okay. So let me copy. Here, what you need to focus on is this value. Okay.
Okay.
Of all, here is also the username, then the password, and third value is, or not third, the last values which are available here. This is the age of the password. Means when will the password expire, when the user needs to change the password and all those things. So for now, we will be focusing on this value.
Password.
So if we see here, the password is divided by, let me, yes. So if we see this value, we can see that this is divided by $3.
Yeah.
Okay. So the value in the between the first $2 is the algorithm by which the password will be encrypted. Let me name them. This is our column first, this is column second, and this is column third. Value in the first column is the algorithm used. And in here, three values can come: SHA 512, SHA 256, and MD5. Depending on which type of algorithm is being used in that particular machine, it will be divided into three parts. So if it is of SHA 512, then the code here will be 6. If it was SHA 256, then the code here will be 5. And if it was of MD5, then the code will be 1. So currently in rel 8, by default, it is SHA 256, 512.
Okay.
The second value.
So this is the password algorithm.
Hmm?
This is the password algorithm. Algorithm for the password.
Right, to encrypt the password.
To encrypt. Okay.
Right. Then this second value is the salt value, or you can say a random value. And why we use this? Random value will be generated on the system only. And used with the algorithm to encrypt your password. Okay, and it will only be stored in etc shadow. So even if the user gets your password, he will not be able to decrypt this value without this one. Okay, so second is the salt value, and then third value is our encrypted password. Okay. So whenever you log in the next time, let's say I set the password of Armel user as ABC. Okay. What will happen the next time? When we set the password for the first time, the value has been stored in the file. The next time, what will happen? The system will pick this salt value. Using this salt value and the algorithm, encrypt your password again. And if the result is similar to this encrypted password, you will be able to log in. Otherwise, you will not be able to log in. Okay, and because of this value, salt value, even if multiple users have same password, their encrypted password will be different. Let me show you. Head -5 etc shadow. So currently the password for Armel user and root user is same. For both of them, a single letter password is there. But if we check the values for both of these, it is starting from 808 for root user. As for this Armel user, it is starting from XWL. Okay. And if you want to manage the age of the password, then a command they have given, that is ch age. And if you use -l and then the username, it will tell you when the password was changed, when password will expire or become inactive, account expire. minimum number of days the password between password change and maximum number of days between password change.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the files that we need to be aware of. Now, let me first delete the users from here. Okay, if we want to delete a user from the system, then the command for that is user del and then username. If I do this, okay, before doing this, let me list /home in which the user's home directories are available. So if I want to delete a user, user del and then username. And if you check tail -4 etc passwd, Solomon user is gone from the etc passwd file. But Solomon user's home directory is still available. So if you want to delete a user with its home directory, in that case, user del -r and then the username. So this will delete the user. The user ABC is gone, as well as delete the home directory of that user. Okay. So for now, let me remove the directories too from /home Solomon and new. Okay. So for deleting a user, we saw the command. Now for adding a user, the command is user add and then the username. So I'm creating Solomon user again here. Enter. Okay. Then tail, that is for the mailbox, which will be available in varlog. So tail -3 etc passwd. So Solomon user got user ID as 1001, but group ID 1002. And why is that? Because if we check etc group, there was already a group which was available in the system with the group ID 1001. So generally the system tries to provide the same GID and UID for a user, but in some cases it may be different. Okay. And if I want to set password for any user, then you can use passwd and username. Just provide the password. The password have been updated. But remember, only root user can change the password for other users. If Solomon user tried to change the password for RML user, he will not be able to do that. Okay. Then, okay. We can also add multiple options with user add command. If I want to check all the options which are available in user add, I can open the.
So we cannot create two admin user.
No, we can provide some access to other users, so they will be able to run those commands which are mainly for admin user, but with sudo only. They need to add sudo ahead of the command.
Okay.
Okay, then. Yeah. So we were going to add some options with the user add command. So if you want to check all the options, we can open the man page. We can change the base directory in which the home directory will be created. We can add the command name for that user. We can change the home directory of user. We can provide an expire date or inactive time period. If we want to change the group ID, then we can also do that. But the group must exist in this case if you want to assign a primary group ID for a user. If you want to add that user in group while creating it, you can do that. Or we can also change the shell and UID. Okay. So let me add another user here. User add, this time with -s, and the shell I'm providing to this user is sbin no login, and the username is srk. If we list in /home, the directory have been created. If we tail etc passwd, the entries have been made, but the shell is has been no login. So if I try to switch to that user, then the command for switching user is
SU.
If we use hyphen, we will switch to that user's home directory. If I switch to Solomon, then I'm in Solomon user's home directory. Let me exit. If I try to switch to SRK user, so this account is currently not available. Even though all the details are there, even though the directory is there, but SRK user don't have a shell in which he can run the command. Right now we have provided him with no login shell. So he cannot use no login shell to use to run the commands in that. He needs bash shell or sh shell. Okay. So we can add user, change the settings of that user while adding it. But once the user has been added, once the user has been created, then if you want to change the settings, if you want to modify the settings, we have user mod. So user mod -s, I'm changing the shell to bin bash for srk. And if I tail etc passwd, the shell have been changed. And if I try to switch to srk user, we can do that. Because now he have a shell in which he can run the commands. Okay. If srk user tries to set password for Solomon user, only root user can specify name. If he tries to set the password for himself, even he cannot do that. Why? Because it is asking for current password, and we didn't set the password for srk user till now. Okay. So Control C, I'm breaking this process, and if I want to exit, either write exit or press Control D. Now I'm setting password for srk. Okay. Now the password has been set. If root user is setting to set a single letter password, you can do that. But if a local user is trying to change the password, then they cannot provide a simple password. Like even if I write Red Hat 1 2 3, so bad password. It is based on a dictionary word. If you try to use your own name, I'm using srk 1 2 3 4 5 6. So it is too simplistic. So the password must be unique while you are setting it from a local user. So GRRAS@123. Now the details has been changed. Okay. Okay. And there is a command last log and then the username.
That's not.
Why is it? Okay, last log -u and then username. So it will tell you when did the user last logged in to your machine. So this user just logged in at 11:15. If we check for Solomon user, he logged in at 11:12. Let's check for Armel user. She logged in on 4th September at 22:40.
That's not.
If I add another user, let me add Lucky. And if I check last log for Lucky, so he never logged
Never
in.
logged in.
Okay, that was all for the mainly for the user part. Now, if I want to create a group, so groups entries are available in etc group. And if you want to check the group entries for any user, like in how many groups he is a member of, so you can use this command groups and then the username. So it is saying that Solomon is a member of Solomon group, which is the primary group of that user. If I want to add more groups, then group add. Let me create new group. So a group has been added.
Okay.
If I want to add a user inside a group, then again we need to use user mod command. -G for group, then the group name, and then username. And if we check groups for Solomon, he's a member of Solomon as well as new group. If I want to add Solomon in SRK group, even though it is a primary group of SRK, but still it is a group. So you can add Solomon user in that group too. Same command will be used, user mod -G use group name username. But there is an issue here. What happened here? What's the issue with this?
Belongs to two. So now belongs to two groups, right?
Right.
SRK.
If we use this command, so what happens if the user will only be added to this group only, and if he was a member of any other group, he will be removed from those group.
Ah, really?
Okay. Right. So if you want to add a user into a new group, and he should stay in those groups which is a member of, for that we need to add an option A, that is for append, and then use the G option. So let me add Solomon user into new group again. And if I tail -5 this time and groups Solomon,
Yes.
he has been added now.
Okay, new group.
Okay, so we need to use this -A, which is for append. If you want to modify some group setting, then group mod command is there. Like I can change the name of the group with -N. New name, let's say ENUDI for new group. So new name first, and then the group name, current group name. Press enter. If you check groups for Solomon, the name of the group has been changed. If you want to change the group ID, you can also do that using group mod -g. And there is a command ID. If you use ID without any parameters, it will show you the ID for current user. So it is showing me the UID for root user, GID for root user, and the groups which root user is part of. If you want to check for any other user, you can give the username. So UID of Solomon user, GID of Solomon users, and the groups he is a member of. Okay. And yeah, that was it. Okay, so last is ch age command. For now, if I try to switch to, okay, let me set password for Solomon user first. Okay, so if I switch to SRK user and then go to any other user, then a password is needed. So a password will only not be needed when we switch from root user to any other user. But if we are switching from any local user to local user or local user to root user, then we always need a password. So I'm going to give the password and I'm on Solomon user now. If I want to change the password age for Solomon user, we can change it using ch. If I, let's say, first of all, -l for Solomon. So last password was changed on 6th of September. I want that Solomon user should change the password in every 10 days. So I'm providing the maximum number of days between password changed for Solomon user. So if you check ch age -l, so the password for Solomon user will expire on September 16th. And he will get a warning 7 days before the password expires. So if I want to change the time of my system, then we have a command time date ctl set time. Let me change the date of the system to today's 6th, so 10 and September 09 2021. Okay, invalid argument 2029 09 10. Still why is it not working? Let me try adding this. Yep. Okay. So the date of the system has been changed to 10th of September, which is, I think, 6 days before. So
this is for setting system date.
This
is for setting system date. To set the system date. Time date CTL.
System date. System date. We can set the system date using this. Time date CTL, set time. And if you want to set the time as well as date, then you can provide them inside double inverted commas and 90000. I think it will come first. No. Okay. So now the time of the system has been set to 9 AM of 12th September. Okay. So if I switch user to SRK and now switch user to Solomon, password of Solomon user. So your password will expire in
Okay,
4 days.
So each time the user log in, it tells him when the password is going to expire.
Right. So he will get a notification that your password will expire in 4 days. So let me again change the time and let's cross the date 16th September when the password will expire. So I'm changing the time to 18th of September. So now the password for Solomon user have been expired. So if we first log into SRK and then switch to Solomon and password, you are required to change your password immediately. Password expired. Okay. So he needs to provide with the current password and then the new password. Only then he will be able to log in. Now he have logged in.
What about for multiple? You have multiple users to change password. You want to assign that same command to multiple user.
We want to change the password of password age of multiple users.
Yes, the age of password multiple user. When you have 10 users to change 10 users on the system.
For that, a specific command is not there, but we can create a script for multiple users. So we just have to provide the name and provide the number of days, when password should expire. We can use a for loop in that case. So it will change the password for multiple users.
Without that scripting.
Yeah. So like this, we can manage the users in the system. Okay. So besides this, okay, one thing is remaining, that is sudo. So should we cover it right now or tomorrow?
Sudo. It's okay. Sudo. It's okay.
We can cover it today?
Yes.
Okay. So mainly why we use sudo?
Sudo is able to change. You want to change from one user to root.
We want to provide root privileges to multiple users. Okay, like I'm gonna switch to Solomon user, and before that, let me change the password to something simple. Okay, now switch to Solomon user. So if Solomon users try to create you add a user, he cannot do that because he don't have permission to change anything in etc passwd file. If he tries to change the password of any user, he cannot do that. Even if he tries to use ls command, which is available for all users, but sorry, if he tries to use vim command, which is available for all users, but tries to open a file on which he don't have a permission, he'll get this permission denied.
So if I use sudo -su, what am I? If I'm in the particular user, like if I'm a CISO MC user or Solomon user, and I type sudo -su. I better not
Sudo su minus.
Yes, sudo su minus right now. That means I'm changing from.
You are trying to go to root user. with the root privileges. So without password, you will be able to switch to root user. Like if we do it right now, su hyphen without sudo, then here it is asking for password. Password of which user? Root user. So if you give root password, you are on root user. But
so what we sudo, it escapes the password.
right, it don't need password if we use sudo. But for that, we need to make changes in sudoers file, because if I do it right now, it will tell us that Solomon is not in the sudoers file. This incident will be reported. Okay.
So Solomon needs to be, this user needs to be in sudo's file.
Right. This Solomon user or whichever user you want to provide permission to, he must be in the sudoers file. Only then he will be able to run the commands using sudo. Otherwise, he will not be able to do that.
I thought it automatically.
Yeah, not
I
automatic.
use I
So,
use it a lot. I use it a lot, so I don't know. I just use it and just to change to
so
root.
in your system, it whoever changed the permission on your server, he must have added your user in the sudoers file, or a group is available in the system that is wheel group. Like let me open etc groups. Sorry, etc group. So here a group is available that is wheel.
Yeah.
So if you add a user in wheel group, he will get sudo permission by default, because in sudo's file, an entry for wheel group has been already assigned. Like, let me show you. I'm going to open another tab, switch to srk user. If we use sudo right now, sudo user add user one. It is asking for user password. I'm going to give the password, and which I think we need to change the password first. Okay. So su srk and user add user one with sudo. Start asking for password, not in sudo's file. I'm gonna exit from here. Run the command user mod -a capital G. I want to add srk user into wheel group. And if we check groups of srk, he has been added. So switch to srk again. Try running the same command user add with sudo. Give the password. This time the command ran and the user has been added. Okay. So either you can add that user directly in wheel group, or you can make entries in sudoers file by yourself. If you want to make entries by yourself, then the command is vi sudo, because the file is available in etc with the name sudoers. So either you go to that file and make entries on your own using Vim or any editor, or you can use this command vi sudo. So vi sudo, enter. The file I have opened, go to the bottom of the file, and here it is. One entry is already there for root user. Also, one entry is there for wheel group. Okay, so if you want to add for a user, then just press I for insert mode, then the username all equals to all on all machines, on all host name, all username. After that, this final all is for the commands.
So the user sudo becomes part of.
So,
So that user sudo will be added.
right. So Solomon user will have access to all the commands in the system. And do you want that the system should not ask for any password while he's trying to use sudo, then you can add no passwd. Just save the file now. And if you go to Solomon user, once exit from here, log back in. And if I use sudo user add user2, enter. User has been added without asking for any password. If you want to delete a user, you can also do that. Sudo user del user1 with -r. That user is gone. So the last all signifies that the particular user can use all the commands. But if you want to give permission for a limited commands only, then open vi sudo again, go to the bottom, shift G, and here instead of all these commands, I want Solomon user to be able to run a command which is available in usr sbin, and the command name is user add, comma usr sbin group add. That's it.
So the
I want
user should have access only to these files, this
only to
directory.
these two commands. So he will only be able to use these two commands with sudo.
Okay.
Just save the file now and go to Solomon user, exit from there once, log back in. Now if I try to add a user, sudo user add user3, I can do that. No issues there. If I tail with -3 etc group and add a user, sudo add a group 1 with group add. I can also do that. The group have been added. But if I try to remove a user or if I try to remove a group, we will not be able to do that. Sudo user del -r user2. Now it is asking for Solomon user's password. You give the password and it will give you an error that user Solomon is not allowed to execute this as root on rel client. Okay. So you can provide access to specific commands if you want. So like this, we can give sudo access to local users. So they will be able to run limited commands or all commands depending on the entry with the root privileges, with the power of root. Okay. So this was all we have in user and group management. Let me. Okay. CH tail and from here. 378. Copy. Zero 08. And documents. And today's what date? 6 in 2021. Okay. So yeah. So in the next session, we will start with our permissions.
Yes.
Let me send you the history first. Okay, then see you tomorrow at the same time.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, welcome.